Yes. Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the Road to Recovery. I'm your host, Ronda Jackson, serial entrepreneur and small business advocate. And today we have the pleasure of our return guest, Mr. Simeon Stewart of Stewart Manhattan, Inc. Thank you, Simeon, for being here today.
Hello, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming back. One of the reasons we promised the viewers, we promised the entrepreneurs that are here with us that we would come back and discuss multiple streams of income. And we're in a time and a period where resources in some areas are abundant, some areas are finite. But I thought that your expertise and example as a business model on how individual emerging and established entrepreneurs can branch out. So if you'll have that discussion with us today, I would really, really appreciate it. Yes?
All right.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
in. I'm all in.
All right. So you know how I like to start the show? I like to ask one word that you would use to describe where we are now. What would your word be?
Diversify.
Okay. All right. All right.
And,
So
and that doesn't really say where we are.
right.
It says where we need to be. But I'm
I like
sorry.
that. I like that. This is the road to
Diversify.
recovery. So diversification is a new destination. I like that.
There you go.
I
There
like
you go.
that.
Let's not talk about where we are. Let's talk about where we're going.
Where we're going.
Okay.
That
Where we're headed.
that is beautiful. So multiple streams of income. Let's just to level the playing field definition. What do you mean when you say to a business owner when you say multiple streams of income?
There's several things I like to say when I say multiple streams of income, and it can come by way of multiple streams within your business.
Okay.
Like we're going to use this word diversification,
Yes.
or it can mean multiple streams of income within your household.
Oh.
So you got two different things happening here. As I stated on the first cast, I have two companies. One company's in management, construction management, production management, technology management, and the other company's in airport concessions business. Well, when everything's going well, everything's going well. Right now, during this global pandemic, our airport concessions business is down 80%. So let me put that in perspective. If I was making $100 a week, I'm now making 20 a week. So, and our scale is much larger than that. I'm just trying to keep it simple. Point is, that business is not where it's traditionally been. Fortunately, we have some construction and technology management contacts and opportunities that I can now pivot and go focus on those. So while I'm still refreshing my business, but that's what I mean about the diversity. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So as we set this up, so as we look at our businesses and figure out what our 1, 2, 3, 4 arms are going to be, are you recommending that they're like siloed from one another and not interdependent? So are you recommending that they're all separate entities, separate, industry?
I think that that's open to your situation, to anyone's situation. I just happen to have two discrete businesses. One is wholly owned by me. The other one is majority owned by me. And I have a partner. And I've had two companies for over 12 years. I think it just really depends on where you are. Sometimes I say, look, somebody in the household needs to have a hustle, which I call a business, right? And somebody needs to have a job. So you can do it like that. It really depends on where you are. I have very good friends who both had corporate jobs, and what they did when they started buying and flipping properties, they lived off of one salary, and they took the other money and flipped houses. And what they did was they kept flipping up. So they would buy a house, live in it, fix it up, flip up to the next house, buy a house, another one, flip it, blah, 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 blah. And they would take the resources, his salary, and use that money for investment, take her salary and live off of it. Yes. That's what I'm talking about when we say job and hustle. So say one of those salaries goes away, you still have some income.
You do.
Right?
You do from the other things. Okay, so then let's talk about that. So income streams, I hear you on the diversification within a household. So in a business, as an entrepreneur, there are a couple of opportunities to diversify in chunks or in different, like give us some categories that we would diversify under in our businesses.
Wow. There's
So
so many
kind of
things. I
vague.
mean, you have right. You have deals that you can do.
Mhm.
So we talked earlier about passive income.
Okay.
Well, in business, so let's talk about the real estate business because that's near to me,
Okay.
um, because of my construction background. Well, you have real estate syndicates that you can invest in, right? And I've invested in some of them. You put your money in them, and what they do is they basically develop a site, operate it, liquidate it, and you get a return.
Uh-huh.
So that's passive income. That's me taking my $100, giving it to another entity, a proven entity, and saying, okay, I'm we're both helping each other.
Yes.
Entity, the proven entity needs money so they can do their deal,
Right.
and I need income. So I plop some money there, let them go do their deal. Once they get the asset up and running, they give a quarterly dividend, right? And then when they liquidate it, they give you your investment back plus, plus, plus.
I
So
see.
that's passive income. I mean,
Right.
that costs you nothing but money. You have to be a savvy investor. You have to be able to afford to do it. You have to be able to afford to uh, to weather the storms of investments, if you will.
Right. So, but the one thing that you actually made me realize, and I don't know about the other entrepreneurs that are watching, is there's also a diversification in time. So there are some immediate short-term things that you can do from a multiple stream of income standpoint. But then what I'm hearing you now describe is something that's a little bit more long-term, like a stock market mutual fund type thing, where your investment sits and it needs time to grow. And then, there's the dividends or the return from it. So that's another interesting perspective, because I think boots on the ground entrepreneur, I'm sitting here thinking like, what can I sell? What can I do? What can I make? Whereas what you're telling me is that if I have a reserve, the savings that you mentioned in the other video, which is huge, that I can take that and that can be growing and doing something in the background while I'm doing some of the other boots on the ground things.
Yeah, absolutely. You want money to make money while you're asleep.
Okay.
That's why people buy apartment houses, and they operate those. That's always a good, easy way to do things. Um, Up until a few years ago, all I did was buy multi-unit, small multi-unit, 2, 3, 4 unit buildings, and stay in them. So at least my rent was paid. My mortgage would
Yeah.
the rent incoming rents would pay the mortgage.
Mhm.
So you got to think that way. If you want to be successful, and you got to continue to think that way. I think the days of people going to a job and using just a single income to live and to ultimately retire or ultimately ride into to the sunset are over. It's, it's just, I don't think you should think like that. I think these young entrepreneurs, you've got kids becoming influencers, um, with different products and services. And that's a stream of income.
Yeah.
I mean, you got kids that are making hundreds of millions of dollars influencing, from gaming, from cosmetics, any number of products. So there are ways to make money that don't require you to constantly be sitting at a desk or constantly do things. And I think it's time for us to get creative, especially during this COVID period, um, so that we can diversify and make certain that if this comes again,
Yeah.
we're
Oh,
well taken care.
yeah, you're prepared. I You got me thinking about a couple different things. So just to understand, multiple streams of income, whether I'm diversifying my client base, I'm diversifying the markets that I'm in. I hear you talking about the real estate, airport concessions, different markets that I can be in. And then now with a timing diversification on when I get those returns and what the size of those returns are like on a day-to-day basis. And then you give a really good description of how passive incomes works. And I'm just going to steal your definition and make sure let me know if I got this right. it's money that you make while you're sleeping.
That's
So
it.
it's not an hourly fee. It's not because I'm, knocking on doors. It's I am like not participating in the actual transactional part of it coming in.
You participate by investing.
That's the,
You
the
put your money in. Now, a little bit different. I'll chime in here with property, real estate. There is an investment of time. It is not a daily investment of time. It is not a regular investment of time, but you do have to maintain a property and you have to get it. May have to refurbish it. But once you get it up and running, you go to sleep.
hands off.
Get your
Okay.
money. Yeah.
I like that. So what would be your advice to a premature investor? So, I'm running my business. I've had my business for about 20 years now. And, the little nest egg, am I taking that, or is it me, the individual, that's doing it? I guess that's my question next, is who's doing the investing? Is it Rhonda or is it Decor? Who's doing the investing?
Again, it depends. It
Mhm.
depends on how you hold your company. Some people, as you know, there are different forms of business. So
Yeah.
if you are an S corp, where your taxation flows through the company down to you, it doesn't matter because
Right.
it's ultimately going to be your taxes. If you're a C corp, and you can have your company invest, you may want to do it that way simply because of tax liability
Got it.
and liability. And
Mhm.
so not only tax liability, but to maintain um, a corporate shield between you personally and the corporation. But
Okay.
it really just depends on who you are. Sometimes people actually form an entity in the form of an LLC, uh, more than often to invest in certain things. So it just depends.
I like where you're going with that, and because I know that you talked to me about this as you've mentored me over the years and shared advice on how to navigate. Can you talk a little bit about the team behind what you do? Because I understand you, the business owner, is doing it, but it sounds like you need to have some other resources and some other brain power at the table when you're looking at, broaching these adventures. Can you just describe what that makeup looks like?
And once again, it depends. I'll just give you, certainly you always have to have a great attorney.
Okay.
You have to have a great legal mind behind you, and you have to have a real CPA behind you.
Mhm.
If you don't have anything else, get those two:
Okay.
an attorney, CPA, not an accountant,
Right.
not a bookkeeper. CPA, and somebody that understands, um, from the legal side, laws related to business and stays up on it, and from an accounting standpoint, laws related to taxation and stay up on that. I think those are very, very important because those two members of your team will give you the proper advice when you want to do something. And sometimes it's just a phone call. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And you'll get a wealth of information just based on reaching out. As far as the phone call is concerned. Then the other people you want to have around, you want to have somebody that's mentor type, at least one person who's done either what you're doing before or something similar, has been successful,
Yes.
that you can call and say, hey, I'm looking at this deal. What do you think? Blah, 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 blah. You can get requisite feedback from that person. And then you want to have what we call a kitchen cabinet. And that's a cabinet, a group of people who you trust, trusted advisors that
Ah.
you can sit down at your kitchen table or at the bar or restaurant or whatever and say, hey, this is what I'm pitching. This is what I'm doing. What do you think? Uh, you always want to have some type of interaction. People around you who think. Well, you can bounce an idea off of. They're not haters. They're not going to try to steal your stuff. They'll be able to say, hey, yeah, that's good. Let's think about this, that, and the other. Or that's not good. Here's the reason why. So that, if you, to answer your question, that's kind of my compliment of
I like
how a team
I like that.
works.
Yeah, I like that because then you have that the inner circle, you have that outer shell of protection around you, having the CPA and the legal minds. So no, that's beautiful advice. I knew this was going to be a very fruitful conversation. I hope my emerging and established entrepreneurs understand the wealth of knowledge that was just brought to you. And then, the other last thing, Simeon, I like to make this actionable. So if you have touched the mind of an entrepreneur that would like to
Oh,
pursue this,
Lord.
all right, they would like to pursue this, where would I start? What's the first thing I need to do? First.
I have to think about that.
Okay.
I think that to answer that question, since we've been talking about streams of income, I think that the first thing that you would do if you're really serious about expanding your streams of income is to start to look for 'em. Start thinking about it, and let it be as wild as possible. Just, it doesn't have to be anything traditional. Just think about, how can I make some extra money? How can I, you know, do something that's going to add to my bottom line? I think that would be the actionable item that I would recommend based on this particular
Right. So
addition.
what I really heard you say is that we should go back and revisit our entrepreneurial spirit. Is that we are tapping into, what can I do? What are my possibilities? And I like that. That is extreme. And I like that, especially with the times that we're in, where instead of getting the blinders and, like you said, sitting down at a desk, staring down, that we just kind of open ourselves up to receive, some of the blessings and opportunities that are available. So I like that very much. Thank you,
Yeah,
Simone.
you're
Thank you.
welcome.
And thank you for being here again with us. I appreciate
It's been
your
a
time.
pleasure.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.